So why did you get in touch?
Someone said the line, if you really want to get to the bottom of something, contact a journalist, not the police. We've had private investigator reports. There's been so much work done on this organisation, and you can only ever go so far.
So what did she say?
So she says that her boyfriend is in a cult, but it's not like any cult I've ever heard of.
I had these ambitions to do something. I've always wanted to build business or be inspiring or do something good in life.
What is Lighthouse?
Lighthouse, it's life coaching. It's a pioneering mentoring organization.
He had this mentor.
We exist to help people to develop themselves.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations you and I had.
No, wonderful, man.
I'm thinking, I can achieve something here. It's brilliant.
Phone calls all day, every day.
You may love her, but she doesn't love you.
And then that's when I started worrying. I started to feel as though I couldn't think anything unless my mentor said it's a healthy thing to think. He started becoming separated from people.
They're still recruiting now.
I did feel this feeling the whole time, like he was watching me.
Everyone has handed over so much money.
The total I invested was £131,000.
I knew he was going to sell his house.
There are people like you that are women. You know that.
There's such a strong stereotype. The only cults are in California where people wear long orange robes. There is a cult in your neighborhood.
It's as if my daughters died. They are brainwashing people.
I didn't want him to end up in not being him.
He told me, remember, we have all your secrets.
Check that out, dude. Keep it in. Keep this up. Come close. Love it, man. Wake up and smell the coffee, Jeffrey. She's not who you think she is.
That's to sync the cameras up.
Oh, I thought it was a fly.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
So how did you meet Jeff?
I met Jeff on a Friday night, very drunk, in the pub in Chichester. I shouldn't say this on public TV really, but so I thought he was just a little bit of a ruffian, and he had his squash nose, so he looks like a boxer. You don't think it was going to be anything. And then he's completely different. He's a sailor and he's willing to his adventure, and I'm probably the one that's more common out of the two, really.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay, I'm a bit nervous. I grew up in Sussex. I used to have a lot of freedom. I had a lot of adventure as a kid. Yeah, we had a tight family. One of my ambitions, which I've had since a kid, was to go to the South Pole. I needed something more than just myself to make that happen. I needed some sort of other knowledge or some people that were successful already.
Jeff's 34 and from Portsmouth. He was working as a skipper, teaching military personnel how to sail, when in late 2018 he joined an online book group, looking for help in making his ambitions come true.
I signed up to a webinar, which I found on meetup.com, and they're studying the 7 habits of highly effective people. I thought, well, if I can learn them, use them in my own life, I'll do well. You had to leave your number, so a week later I had a phone call from Jay Singh.
Cool. Good evening.
So when I first met Jeff, only within like a few months, he was talking about this mentor, Jay.
I thought he was smart, he could speak well.
So we're reading Start of Habit 7. So right from the top, Habit 7, sharpen the saw.
He was interested in, the same ideas that I was interested in. We read most of the book. I really enjoyed it. Saw it benefiting my life too. That's when Jay offered me the opportunity to work with him one-on-one and have some personal mentoring.
You're very, very teachable. You're very, very open. You have a work ethic that's very good. You'll learn fast and you grow fast.
It felt great. I was motivated, I was inspired, and I started working hard. I can speak better, write better. I'm more in flow. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Pretty phenomenal thing you got going on.
All around it feels like there's things happening. No, wonderful, man.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations you and I had.
He said we run this discipline program. We found it to be the most sort of basic thing that anybody needs.
You said it a while ago, your dream.
By this stage, Jeff had been talking to Jason constantly for more than 6 months. They were like best mates.
Discipline program was £10,000. That was going to be a year's worth of mentoring.
I remember it said, I like a challenge, I want to be challenged. Not many people who say that and mean it. That was one of the times when I went, there's something different about this guy. I like this guy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And these calls then became more frequent, longer, more intense, more about deeper parts of your life.
What sort of things were you sharing with him?
Loads of stuff. At first, just what I was doing all day, every day, and I would share my ambitions, my desires, insecurities. If Dawn and I were having trouble, I'd share that. In time, began to share traumatic things I found deeply painful.
So they would be on the phone for like 4 hours. He would check everything off with him, have a dispute about something, or he'd let me down, and I would send him a message, upset about it, and the message I got back didn't sound like Jeff because the language was different. They weren't messages from Jeff, they were messages from Jay.
What is Lighthouse?
Lighthouse was something that just sort of grew in my life. I thought it was a network of entrepreneurs.
Just to give you a little bit of background on Lighthouse, we've been going for about 16 years. I've been involved for 11, I think, for my sins. We exist to help people to develop themselves so that they can improve themselves and improve the lives of others around them. Mentoring, coaching, counselling, leadership development.
Yeah, so I'm Simon, and so let's go back to the beginning.
Got so many questions still.
I was going to a lot of networking events at the time. Tom kind of just came over and kind of introduced himself.
That was Tom Hasker.
10 years ago, I got involved with Lighthouse.
Tom and Simon got on really well, and soon Tom was Simon's mentor.
I think it really helped me to feel like seen and heard. I felt here was someone I could share my experiences with and my aspirations for the future.
Tom Hasker and Jay Singh are part of Lighthouse, a mentoring and coaching organisation led by a man called Paul War, who everyone calls Paulie.
What we're doing is helping human beings to actually gain control of themselves. Not for us to gain control of you, but for you to gain control, because that's where your power is.
He is very charismatic, wonderful, sort of big, warm personality.
It's not in mentorship coaching that you should be putting your trust. It's in who's behind the mentorship and coaching.
He can talk very well. He's really tapped into something there. Just really draws your attention in, inspires you.
It's amazing and it's beautiful. It brings me to tears sometimes hearing you and Paulie talk.
Our responsibility, not only just to help you think well, feel well, eat well, look well, be well, but to raise your level of conscious awareness that you own enough of yourself that you know you'll never lose it.
How many of you see tendencies in you you're not happy with?
Paul would talk about the millions he made as a businessman in South Africa, about his close relationship with Stephen Covey, the author of the best-selling 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
He used to speak once a quarter. And do you know what Stephen Covey said to Paul a while back? He said, "You guys are taking on the torch from me."
After almost a year of talking to Jay Singh, Jeff was invited to become part of the inner circle at Lighthouse, a Lighthouse associate elect.
So I had a meeting with Jay. He said there's an opportunity that's come up. The price is £25,000. He said the door is going to close. The next opening will be 50,000, then 100, then 250. So there was a sense of urgency around it. He said it would be the best opportunity for you to succeed. It's a big risk to put in that much money, but I understood that you don't really get places unless you take huge risks.
After 1 year of mentorship with Tom Hasker, Simon was offered the same.
They didn't come straight up to me and said, hey, become a Lighthouse partner. It was a lot more gentle, steady approach. So it was a big investment. So it was £25,000 to become what they called an associate elect, like a Lighthouse trainee mentor, in layman's terms.
So you had to pay to become...
Yes, nothing was never described as pay, as it was always, you're making an investment in yourself.
In June 2020, when the world had just gone into its first COVID lockdown, Jeff joined Lighthouse full-time. In November the same year, Simon did too. Jeff wasn't working anyway because of COVID. Simon quit his full-time job.
And what did being full-time involve?
It involves being on these calls.
These were like almost 30 people on the call.
Mainly listening to other people speaking, waiting for Paul Wall to arrive.
Morning. Morning, guys. Simon, well done. Well articulated and well expressed with feeling and with care and with consideration.
And how long would they last?
In the beginning, quite short.
So I thought I'd share a few things.
They got longer and longer as we went. So within 6 months, they're 5 to 6 hours. But you'd never know when they were going to finish. We went on to about 6 o'clock on one call, 10-hour call.
Lighthouse has a team of live transcribers working on every call, and they mustn't miss a word of what Paul says. How does the transcribing work?
Yeah, well, it's quite a procedure.
You're all mature enough to hear this, but believe you me, conscience is the great liberator.
You're trying to get as much of Paul Wall's words as you can.
As Stephen Covey said, educating your conscience.
What you would have is 2 lead typers. You'd have 2 others come in behind them, and they'd fill in the abbreviations and the typos. You'd have others come in behind them, and they would highlight certain words, which were later made into a summary.
How do you do with that?
By the end of a call, you'd probably have anything between a 50-page or 100-page transcript.
So with that?
That's then sent out to a group of maybe 10 who listen back to the recording, go through the written transcript, and fill everything in word for word.
It's self-regeneration, self-renewal.
That's every day.
Every day.
Self-love, self-nurture, self-understanding.
Every day, 7 days a week. It just didn't make any sense. Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday. I had one Christmas day off, one New Year's day off. I went up to see Paul Wall a couple of times, so I had those days off too.
He started becoming separated from people. We did go to his families. You'd find him sitting in the car on the phone to Jay, and it was actually quite embarrassing at times. So, my friends come round to see me, they'll be like, "Where's Jeff?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's just upstairs on the phone call," as usual. We were meant to go on holiday to Mexico for his dad's 60th. We didn't go because they said he couldn't go because there was a big launch happening.
Lighthouse team members are so busy that they're often not questioning, at least out loud, what the point of these calls are, or what anyone's achieving.
The moment he'd get off the phone calls, he'd have me asking questions, he'd have his sister asking questions, his family asking questions. Is it mentoring or is it business? Are you working for them or are they mentoring you? Is it a pyramid scheme?
Around 20 Lighthouse team members live together in shared rental houses in the Midlands. We believe one house near Wolverhampton has around 7 members living in it. How did you end up living with your mentor?
Tommy broached the idea of, why don't you come and live with me? And I don't know, I just think maybe it was persistence, I don't know, but there was just something in me that just went, okay, fine, let's just do it. I kind of had the bedroom, and then he slept in was the small living room stroke kitchen. It was a really tiny flat, no space, no sort of real privacy, all day, every day, just me and him. Financially, I was paying for the whole flat, and I was running out of money. I remember one evening, I was in my room quite late, and I actually turned the lights out to try and get to sleep. I could hear him walking, standing just outside the door. I did feel this feeling the whole time, like he was watching me.
They asked Jeff to move up with them. I just felt like the moment he moves to them houses, that's it.
Have you had any thought in relation to what you do and investment-wise and that kind of thing? What is what I do? Like, you've spoken about your house, you've spoken about different things, so...
Jeff started saying, I think I'm going to sell my house because money's, property's dead. Like, there's no one invests in property anymore. I was like, that's rubbish.
The 80s and 90s are gone. Property's over. What's it doing?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What's it doing? It's just in bricks and mortar, and it's just rubbish.
I fully agree, bro.
In June 2021, 2.5 years after he first started speaking to Jay Singh, Jeff sold his house. He gave £28,000 to Lighthouse. He'd already remortgaged it and given them $32,000 of that money.
Do you think you would have sold your house had it not been for Jay Singh's encouragement?
No chance. I had no reason to sell that house, other than the reasons put in front of me, the opportunities put in front of me at Lighthouse.
Why do you think they wanted Jeff?
Oh, he's a cash cow. Sounds awful. They realised there was money to have there.
How much money did you hand over?
The total I invested was £131,000.
Key to the philosophy of Lighthouse were the levels. The idea that everyone is at a different stage of human spiritual development.
Well, the levels, level 1 to 4, they came from M. Scott Peck, who's a psychotherapist. He's very intelligent.
The majority of level 1 sound terrifying. Only when you get a high level 4, when you rise above that.
Level 1.
Chaotic, childlike.
Level 2.
Institutionalised. Somebody that maybe is religious but follows religious on blind faith.
Level 3.
The skeptic. So these are scientists who doesn't just follow things on blind faith.
And level 4.
Mystic, communal. Somebody that has really transcended a lot of challenges in life, is able to take quite a profound view on the world, see patterns of nature, see wisdom.
What were the various levels that were in Lighthouse?
Where everybody was level 1, Paul Wall was level 4.
That was it?
That was it.
Why?
A million reasons. He said nobody there had had an upbringing, and so they were in Lighthouse to get that upbringing that they didn't get at home.
Paul said once you got to level 4, you could start achieving your goals.
Many people who don't know me very well think I'm a mystic because I'm able to sort of feel things that no one else can, because quite simply I'm in touch with this heightened sense of extraordinary awareness that's becoming more extraordinary all the time.
Increasingly it seems like these people are under his control. He has his presence, and I felt nervous around him. He used to go and play golf with Paul Wall, and then we're teeing up, and Paul Wall just sort of gets out the golf caddy, grunts at one of the seniors, and shakes his foot. I look down at his foot, his shoelace has come undone. But it was the way the senior responded. He dropped his golf club. He sort of moved so fast across the green, dropped on one knee, and knelt there, tying up his shoelaces. I looked at him and thought, is that where I'm going?
So I would listen in at times, and the types of topics they were discussing, which were beyond mentoring and coaching and business, and was more about beliefs and how you should live your life. And then that's when I started worrying, because I thought he's literally being brainwashed all day, every day. And the topics were getting more sinister. It's about narcissists, toxic parents.
Families become dominant families, controlling families, narcissistic families, become like HIV. That's what it is.
I used to sit on these calls and I would hear people speaking about their families endlessly, or their mothers endlessly. Of course, all families have difficulties. And Lighthouse would find them in your journal, or find them in your personal mentoring. Other people's families were generally destructive, narcissistic, cynical, hateful, didn't want to let their family members go, and would sabotage their potential, and they would sabotage Lighthouse as a whole. So other people's families were dangerous.
What about your family? What did they say about your family?
My mother and sister are narcissistic. My father's weak. The worst family at Lighthouse. My partner, Dawn, well, she's got endless flack. I won't repeat what he said. I think you've heard some
Well,
recordings.
we've got the recording, yeah.
I'm a great dancer with that. And one of my enemies is some fucking chick called Dawn. I've never met her. She's toxic.
What are some of the things you remember from it that he said?
Oh, well. I don't know.
What you got? German truck. What is it? It's damage to your arsehole.
The whole thing is just incredibly belittling.
I know how this works. One day you stand. You know, people like you murder women like that. You know that. So it's very common. You step on and you maul it. And see you mesh in your face.
He was sitting there all day listening to quite unpleasant stuff, some of it insulting you personally. Why did you stick around?
I thought the moment I let this, I finished with him for my own self-dignity and worth, he's just going to plough right into it and we've lost him. And I feel like I was the only glimmer of hope of not him completely going into that. So I'm trying not to cry. But so part of it was like not wanting them to win, which sounds awful. Other parts, because I love him obviously loads. And we did have such a nice time before he joined.
Dawn, that woman has a heart of gold, but I just cannot connect it to my work here. That's a problem, man. It hurts, right? Love it, man. And you feel it, bro, things of distrust, yeah.
Because I do really love him, and I didn't want him to end up in that shared house, like with all his money gone and not being him and us all losing him for good, like Jay and like the rest of them now.
Do you know why it drives you mad? Because I love her. You may love her, but she doesn't love you. No matter what she says, no matter what you say. Come on, man. Wake up and smell the fucking coffee, Jeffrey. This woman is no good for you, man. She's not who you think she is.
Jeff was part of Lighthouse for 3 years, Simon for 4.
Share a little bit about my family.
I've been working on this investigation with a whole team, and we've tracked down more than 40 people who've had experience of Lighthouse or Paul War.
I had 4 years of mentoring. My company paid for it. I'm an educated man, but I handed over tens of thousands of pounds and got nothing.
Would you be okay if we use what you've told us? They told us about the history of Lighthouse. Started in 2004, it had 2 previous names, Franklin War and the Entrepreneurial Club.
Even 17 years ago, people were investing £25,000 and getting bullied by Paul War.
From the very beginning, members paid big money to become Lighthouse associates. We kept hearing how so many long-term members were in terrible debt.
Paul War lives in a mansion, but the people below him live in shared houses, like students. They don't pay bills, take out credit cards, until their credit rating is destroyed.
One of the things that really stuck out to me from these calls was just how terrified some people were of Paul finding out they'd spoken to us.
Threatened.
He thought Paul was dangerous.
Please, please don't use my name. I need to protect my family.
And that long Lighthouse daily call was transcribed every single day. We've been given 16,000 pages of transcripts of exactly what was said on them. We also found a growing Reddit community highly critical of Lighthouse.
Let me tell you now.
And the recordings you've been hearing, we have hours of them. Everything Lighthouse does is recorded.
At the park, we've had all sorts of narcissistic and malignantly psychopathic people that have come through here. People have come in here for the wrong reason.
We sent 181 calls.
It's 90 hours of Jeff and Jay, but it charts their entire relationship.
Paul War says it's because they've got nothing to hide, but ex-members know it means Lighthouse have their deepest secrets recorded.
We record everything and we cut nothing out.
The recordings mean our team have been able to verify the accounts of former members and hear from those inside Lighthouse in their own words.
I will put you, tuck you away like I did Jay.
Until we heard this recording, we'd heard Jay Singh being a mentor, being controlling, described as a perpetrator. But Jay Singh has been in Lighthouse for more than a decade, and now we learn something about the process Jay's been through to become who he is today.
You'd like to explain that experience, Jay?
I couldn't be trusted to, because my negativity, I was pouring it into meetings, I was pouring it on the guys, the clients, and so Paulie helped me, and I was with a senior at all times. If I wasn't, I was by myself, and my text messages were checked to people because I wasn't aware of how much manipulation and toxicity there was there in seemingly positive things. Paulie couldn't trust me, I couldn't trust myself. And so he helped me go back to square one and rebuild, and kept me here and loved me through it. I was like that, I was 25, 26, 27. I appreciate those times now, as hard as they were.
In some cases we have video too. This is Jay Singh's brother, Sukh Singh, also part of Lighthouse. Here he is promoting it to newer mentees.
When I started, I was 24, fresh out of uni, and just really wanted to find some direction. I just was like, I'm feeling lost. I don't know why. I don't know what this means, but I need something.
We think there are more than 40 people still involved with Lighthouse. People like 28-year-old Mel.
In the beginning of 2020, I received a call from Dagmar, Melissa's mother, saying that she was very worried that Melissa had got involved with this organisation, and she got a bank loan, £25,000, and she gave all this money to the Lighthouse Group. She had met her mentor through a dating app, Chris Dykler.
I would say that she found the family that she thinks she never had in Lighthouse. They appeared to scrutinize a lot of aspects of her life. We had a holiday booked. It was just me, her, and my wife. The three of us, we were really close. She was saying that Lighthouse don't think it's part of her development plan. So went on Google. The first thing that stood out was there was a lack of information on Paul, the leader. He'd been built up as this super successful entrepreneur. It was just weird to find no trace of a supposedly prominent entrepreneur and business coach.
When Martin found out that Mel had left her job to go full-time at Lighthouse without telling her family, he called her up.
And so I had a phone call with her and I said, look, all this research I've done, these guys are absolute crooks. The next day, Chris and somebody else in the group came and took her away. One feels so powerless in a situation like that. You feel, what can I do? I mean, you can write to the police, nothing happens.
Mel writes a lot online about being in Lighthouse, and she says she's happy. How do you feel about that? Do you think she's happy?
The difficulty about this whole process is that if Melissa is watching this program, she will think that I am being hostile to her because she is happy. Why do you think that all of your family, 99% of your friends and things like that, think it's a bad idea? Surely doesn't that ring alarm bells? Are we all wrong? It is absolutely horrendous what Paul War and his cronies, such an odious person. How intelligent people like my daughter can fall victim of this, I find it totally incomprehensible.
What's it like having a child in Lighthouse?
It's as if my daughter's died, because she's not my daughter that I know is not there anymore.
Hi guys! So, yeah, it's been a while, my bad. I have moved out of my room at university, and I'm now back in my house in London, which is a bit of a mess, but we can overlook that, and I've booked my flights. Or my dad booked my flights.
Sorry. And it is not Melissa. This cannot be Melissa. And this dreadful organisation, I mean, absolutely, they should all be in jail. Basically brainwashing people and destroying families.
Why have you decided to go public?
I think it's a last resort. Paul Wall says he's going to sue everybody's ass, and yippee, bring it on, let's see him in court. The last place he ever wants to be is in court. I'm an old man, I'm self-employed, I've got nothing to lose. So if I'm not going to speak out, who is going to speak out?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, I've got my volume up high enough.
Awesome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good.
You're not allowed to use okay and good, remember?
Oh, yeah. I'm feeling focused.
As we learnt more about the group, we also learnt more about their damaging behaviour. You feeling ready for your interview?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Yeah? Just tuck that in your pocket.
I'm Anthony Church. I'm 30 and I'm from Peterborough. So I struggled from when I was at school with anxiety, and then I did a Masters in Applied Computing. And it was after I finished that course when I had a breakdown and took an overdose, making a suicide attempt. And then later in that year I came across Lighthouse.
Awesome, looking very smart. I like it.
Okay, yeah. And then it was after that when I met Jay and claiming that he'd be able to get me better, that Lighthouse would be the cure for depression.
That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he'd say, yeah.
Anthony Church worked as a volunteer web developer for Lighthouse for 4 years. He was mentored by Jay Singh throughout.
Yeah, look, even if you're not doing the exercise,
oh yeah,
must do the meditation. Should we take a few minutes?
Yep.
What made Anthony's story worrying was Jay Singh's attitude to his medication. Anthony takes 2 types of medication for his mental health problems.
It's one of these medications that Jay then suggested that I speak to my doctor about reducing it.
I know you're having a few of these headaches and withdrawal symptoms and stuff like that. It's just that you're willing to suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Willing to suffer to get healthy, and you're not dependent on medication for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
There's meaning in the pain. The man's search for meaning.
Yes, this is the next level of suffering to get off this medication.
Yes.
Jay would prepare me for the calls with the specialist and getting me to say about how much better I'm doing with Lighthouse, and they agreed to reduce the medication gradually.
He would tell you what to say in your calls with a specialist.
Yes, yeah.
So you can tell them I'm getting professional counselling and mentoring every single day.
Yeah.
I look forward to the day where you raise a glass and you're free of your medication. I'd like to see you on both of those. We set a time, maybe even by next spring.
Yes, yeah.
Jay Singh is, of course, not qualified to do this. Anthony eventually started questioning Lighthouse, asking things like why he had no contract for the money he'd handed over.
So when I'd ask questions about Lighthouse, Jay would blame the medication and say I was being paranoid because of the withdrawal symptoms, and I knew I wasn't experiencing withdrawals. I was just thinking about things that didn't add up.
When Anthony eventually left, he sent messages to other members with information about cults and mind control. He soon received an email from Jay.
I don't think you have any idea what you're doing, Anthony. If this is you just having a psychological paranoid episode, as you have had before, and we can reason with you, then with sufficient evidence we can present this to the lawyers and in the police report.
Take this very seriously, Anthony. There are consequences to your actions.
Erin joined Lighthouse in a very similar way to Jeff. She joined a book club. Jay Singh became her mentor. Erin was convinced to pay them £35,000.
I took out an interest-free credit card, and the idea came from my mentor, Jay Singh. So he was talking to me about how I should change my mortgage to be able to borrow money back. I started to feel as though I couldn't think anything unless my mentor said it was a healthy thing to think or a true thing to think.
Erin was sexually abused as a child by someone known to her family. We've changed her name.
I talked about the abuse I'd experienced when I was younger.
When Erin asked questions about the legitimacy of Lighthouse, her mentoring calls turned very nasty.
Why do you think I want to speak to you? I'm not going to struggle here. You guys struggle there. I'm telling you now. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
I don't think you are.
They said there needs to be some kind of way of making my parents pay for not looking after me better as a child. There was talk of seeking legal action, taking my parents to court, getting money out of anybody, obviously to invest back in Lighthouse. I don't know.
Why aren't you taking it out of them? Why aren't you trying to get justice? You're so fucked up. You owe your parents jack shit, man. They owe you.
Paul War seemed obsessed with talking about sexual abuse, about how damaged I was.
You need to invest in yourself because you're broken. This doesn't come from nowhere. This comes from the abuse you got as a child. It comes from a family of serpents and pricks and cowards.
Because of what had happened to me, I was a dangerous person to be around.
Are you mad or narcissistic? Are you mad or psychopathic? Which one are you?
They were just telling me how awful I was. How dare I, question anything about Lighthouse. And I thought, my gosh, perhaps I am really damaged.
I'm telling you now, I'm going to stop doing it. It's not acceptable, okay? Treating it as if we're trying to do you over. You know what your biggest fear ought to be? Not that we'll take money from you, but we'll actually think that you're too unhealthy to be here. You're a cynical little old witch.
And they said, if you leave, if you turn against us, remember we have all your secrets.
Every conversation you've ever had is taped. Every journal you've ever written is stored. Are you helplessly so fucking stupid?
Erin did leave, and her experience shows just how much the group hates being criticised. They keep a close eye on what's written about them, especially on Reddit. And the reason we know about this is because it was one of Simon's jobs.
My role was to monitor this. We had a document for every post. We took a screenshot, took a date, what's the Reddit pseudonym. They'd posted something that was crucial or critical, and mention that to the right people so they could decide how they were going to respond.
And respond they did. One of the ex-members that's taken the most abuse since leaving is a teacher called Jo.
They wrote an email to my head teacher basically saying that they had concerns about me and my ability to do my job and that I was a threat to children. And then they also began to CC in senior executives at the local authority. Oh my gosh. And one email had a 25-page report and an 18-page report about me, with making various spurious claims, one of which was that I should be psychologically evaluated. It's just laughable, really.
At some point after Jo posted her experience on Reddit, Lighthouse reported her to the police. The police looked at it but took no further action. But Lighthouse wrote to her school to say she was under criminal investigation.
And this is just because you left?
Because I left.
And you wrote on Reddit?
And because I asked questions, because I wrote about my experience on Reddit, yeah.
If you've got that sort of pathology, Joe, I'm telling you now, people like you should not be looking after little children. I'm telling you from me right now, and I will make sure that you get out of that job, as long as I live. Or unless you reform, or unless you get the help you need. Because what you're doing here
It's damn goddamn awful.
Throughout history, groups known as cults have led ordinary people to believe unbelievable things.
We came from what some might call another dimension.
The Rajneeshis describe themselves as dropouts from the top of culture.
Charles Manson is the mystical leader of the hippie cult.
Everyone you've heard from that's been part of Lighthouse believes it's a cult. Every person we've spoken to who's had a family member inside Lighthouse believes it's a cult. We also wanted multiple expert opinions from specialists.
I've been doing this work for about 30 years now. We get more calls about Lighthouse than any other group in this country.
Lighthouse International, in my opinion, meets the criteria for a cult. I'd say it's on the extreme end of the continuum.
It seems to me that Lighthouse Group is a cult. They monopolize their members' time, energy, and are financially exploiting them.
When did you first hear about Lighthouse?
I had someone come to my practice to seek some help. I consider Lighthouse a very classic example of a cult. It fits all the criteria that I use.
And what is that?
Firstly, cults are started and often continue to be led by a charismatic and authoritarian leader. But they're also bullies. So I kind of refer to them as charismatic bullies. The structure is steeply hierarchical. Everything comes from the leader. But importantly, the structure is heavily isolating. Then you have this process of what I call brainwashing, or we could also call coercive control. And then the final point is that if you do this to people, you can then exploit them. So we see these phenomena like people selling their houses, giving all their money to somebody. They've gone through this process. They didn't do it because they were stupid.
How does Lighthouse compare to other cults, other more famous cults?
In this country, what I notice is that there's such a strong stereotype that the only people in cults, and the only cults are in California, where people wear long orange robes. And I really want to say to people that there is a cult in your neighborhood. And coercive control is now recognized by the UK government as being a crime when it occurs in a personal or family relationship. There's this exact same dynamic can happen in a group or in a workplace or in a coaching business. If your boyfriend does that to you, he might go to prison. But if your neighbor does it to you, that's legal.
So when we started investigating Lighthouse, it was not a religious group, but now religion is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I found that really fascinating when they seem to be morphing a little bit and bringing a lot more Jesus talk, which is not what I saw the first time I looked into them at all. The belief system of cults is very fluid. It's what works at any given time. And the ideology really is the kind of advertising. I call it the sheep's clothing around the wolf.
Does Lighthouse know that you're aware of them?
Yes, they do. And I know they know because they've been trolling me on Twitter. And in fact, I last week made a complaint to the Met Police about it, where I have 53 pages. That's not tweets, that's 53 pages of tweets. So the Met Police have decided that it's just a disagreement about ideas. But as one of the things they said in one of the tweets was, you'll pay the price. I don't consider that a normal way of disagreeing with somebody. And also contacting my previous workplaces is also not the way people usually disagree about ideas.
I've genuinely not experienced the fear that I see of Paul War.
Well, cult leaders are psychopaths. They appear charming and nice one minute, and the next minute they're terrifying. I had to stare down a murderer in my cult who was trying to have my now ex-husband take full custody of my children. For me, getting out of the cult was the most frightening thing I've ever done.
I knew that I couldn't tell anyone that I was having doubts, and I thought, if I can get away from Tom, even for just a small window of time, that will give me the opportunity to go. Not sure where I'd go, but I'd go. And I was walking away from the flats. First thing I did was I pulled out my phone and I called the police. And I said, I'm not sure what to do, but I know that I can't go back there. They said, go to the police station and go and tell them that you're coming and that you feel unsafe. So I kind of put my phone aside and just stuck it in my bag because I knew that they would call me and I could kind of feel it vibrating. I was stressed, like my anxiety level was off the chart.
Simon left Lighthouse less than a year ago. He's never spoken to anyone, even connected with the group since. We obviously wanted to put our allegations to Lighthouse, but before that we had a few more pieces of our investigation to put together. Firstly, Paul's claims that he was a millionaire in South Africa.
It took me 10 years, from 14 to 24 before I made my first million. And that took me from 24 to 35 before I left the country to produce about 100 million.
It's one reason people trusted him as a mentor, as an inspiration. So we had a South African investigative journalist look into those claims, who found 3 businesses he ran there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey.
His companies themselves, there are no properties registered under them or any kind of assets. Their business addresses are usually residential areas, essentially flats that Paul rented out in Durban.
Were you able to speak to anyone that knew him, that met him?
Yeah. His former landlady remembered, Paul as a kind of colorful character. He was always trying out this get-rich-quick schemes. He ran one of his businesses out of a flat. But she also remembered Paul was struggling, in fact, to pay rent on time.
That's interesting. So we have a recording of Paul saying between the ages of 24 and 35, he produced about 100 million.
Catherine, that is absolutely, it can never be true. It would not have been possible for someone running millions to have not a single asset in South Africa. None of these businesses have any kind of profile, and this is a person who then struggles to pay his rent on time. Paul seems to have been just an average Joe trying his luck in different kinds of businesses.
We've been told that those in Lighthouse are in terrible debt. We were able to find evidence. We found 17 county court judgments against current members of the team for unpaid debts totalling over £87,000. £20,000 of them are for Jay Singh. Paul War, well, he has none of these kind of debts. We found Paul's very nice 5-bedroom house with a sauna, half an acre, and a Range Rover outside with a private number plate. Whilst he lives in this rented place, many Lighthouse team members live all together in shared houses.
Hi there. Is that better?
Juliet rented a 6-bedroom house out to just Paul War. She was told he would have guests staying, but ended up with around 8 Lighthouse team members living there. When they left, she was flooded with letters.
They were all to do with these people who were living there who owed money. They were just pouring in every single day. When I was living back there, I got a knock on the door from this guy. They were tracking down a guy called Jay Singh, and he said to me he owes money. And I said, listen, I rented this house to these people. It was Wild West here. Every single bedroom had been turned into what I would deem as a bed sitting room. There were things like kettles in the bedrooms, a chest freezer full of meat up in the bedroom, pots and pans in the main bathroom. I said they shouldn't have been living here. I gave them Paul War's address. I would suggest you contact him.
We also looked into Paul's claims of being very close with Stephen Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Covey called me a fucking mountain. You see, you've got to paint yourself a mountain, you're a fucking mountain.
Stephen Covey died in 2012, but I contacted his company, Franklin Covey, where many employees still there used to work with Stephen every day. They told us
We are not aware of any relationship between Stephen R. Covey or Franklin Covey and Paul War.
Something else that kept coming up. We had multiple people who've been close to Paul War tell us he liked to show people videos of him having sex with women.
I just said, please, I don't want to see that. And he made me look at this. I was horrified, absolutely horrified. I felt really violated.
And then something totally unexpected happened. We found out about a secret investigation into Lighthouse, ordered by the UK Secretary of State for Business. Lighthouse were being taken to court, and this document gives the reasons government investigators say Lighthouse should be shut down. 1. Failure to cooperate, lack of transparency, failure to preserve, maintain, and/or deliver up adequate accounting records. The investigator has written to Mr. War on a number of occasions. He has failed to attend at least 5 scheduled interviews.
It really is, and it'll be a waste of your resources to set deadlines based on your urgencies and not our situation. Please be advised that no amount of warnings and threats will change this.
That's an email to the investigators for the Secretary of State. 2. Lack of commercial probity, false and/or misleading accounts. They've been able to find some stuff that we couldn't get to, most significantly the money. We could see that almost £2.5 million had been paid into Lighthouse's bank account. And between March 2018 and July 2022, more than 1.1 million had been paid out to Paul War. Paul argues this is because he put the most in. And then came Lighthouse's day in court. Paul War arrived with another 22 people from Lighthouse. Jeff and Dawn came too. And 5 hours later, a judge shuts down Lighthouse in the public interest. By this stage, we had invited Paul War and Jason for interview and sent the group 120 allegations in writing. It was time to talk to them. Paul's there. Hi Paul, how do you feel about being closed down, shut down in the public interest?
It is in my interest. It's totally in my interest. I've been trying to shut it down for a while.
You've been trying to shut it down?
I've been trying to shut it down for a while.
Not the court?
No, well, the court too. So we're working together on this, right? So we've shut it down.
A court has said you're working against the public interest.
Well, those are the issues we will deal with reputationally after this.
Are you going to carry on?
Yes, we are carrying on.
How do you feel, Paul, about the fact that so many people think you're running a cult?
We're not running a cult. Because they don't know what a cult is. They don't know what. So if you ask them what's the difference between a cult and a community that supports people, they wouldn't be able to tell you.
Why do you think so many people say
Because
it?
they're slurring us, they're smearing us. That's exactly what they do. These parents are child abusers that you're supporting. And you supported Jimmy Savile, you.
Me?
You.
Okay.
Supported Jimmy Savile and his paedophilia. Well, you're going to take that out, you're going to keep it in.
Well,
keep this out, come close.
Why do you...
Paedophile supporter.
Why, Paul, have you contacted people's employers who've criticised you? Why have you done that?
Because of our people, of the people that work with us. We're going around on Reddit, like a foul readouts they were, on that paedophilia site. I would want to know that that's how my people, or people I work with, or employee, handles their problems. And the companies are dreadful for us telling them. Some people have been fired for this.
Who's been fired?
You go and find out. It's data protected, I can't tell you.
Right, you could just tell me that.
No, I can't, it's data protected.
Okay, fine. We've sent you all of our allegations in huge detail, and you've not responded to any of them.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Why is that?
Because I want to know the context of what those things are. Where do they come from? A lot of it is just absolute nonsense. I'm responding with our own documentaries, with our own videos. We're doing it.
Do you think, given the level of criticism and given the level of people who are deeply unhappy with their treatment at Lighthouse, it is...
How many people are deeply unhappy with the treatment of Lighthouse? Here they all are. How many are deeply unhappy? Would you like to talk? She said all these people that are deeply unhappy. Ask them. Ask them.
Austin, go on.
Go on, you will tell me. Tell me. Tell me what you'd like to say. You're here.
Oh, how many
Tell
of
me
you are
what you'd
deeply
like to
unhappy?
say.
She really desperately wants one of you to be deeply unhappy. Okay, please tell her for the God of Wales. Please ask her. Thank you. We've had enough. No comment.
I fully appreciate that the people currently in Lighthouse like Lighthouse.
Yeah, this is going nowhere. This is going nowhere.
Do you think it is right for us to investigate, given the level of complaints there are about you?
Of course, but you must receive the facts, and true and fair and complete.
Send us the facts.
You're getting them. They're coming.
Send us the
They're
facts.
coming. Have a good
Send
night.
us the facts. Jay, can I ask your reaction to the shutting down of Lighthouse?
It's not surprising.
Do you agree it's working against the public interest then?
No, because I'm standing here, there's many people standing here have actually benefited, and you guys have only spoken to the people who have got a vendetta. Right?
Why did you tell Jeff that the price of being an associate was going to increase so much, and that wasn't the case?
We were about to expand.
So you told Jeff...
We've got the recording. I'll share the
I've
recording.
got it as well.
Share the
So
recording with you.
the price of being an associate-elect has never actually increased. So do you agree that was a pressurised sales technique, Jay?
No, it wasn't. No. Leave it now. Leave it now. It's done.
Would you like to say anything? Everyone's allowed to have their say. Being part of Lighthouse isn't something you forget, that you can just move on from. It changes you.
I'm nearly 40 years old. This is not how I imagined my life being, but working hard each day to recover, to heal, to rebuild my life, and I will. Well, I think perhaps the average person, let's say, look at a group at Lighthouse and look at this and think, well, that would never happen to me. It can happen to anyone.
If you could speak to your daughter now, what would you like to say to her?
Forgive me for everything I'm saying if you think, that I'm trying to do it to hurt you, because I'm not. I'm doing it because I think it's my last chance to save you.
Am I glad I stuck with him? Yeah, 100%, because he's back to being like Jeff. We're trying to get everything back to normal the best we can. We've just got a puppy, and Jeff's back to sailing. We've just got accepted on our first home together, which won't be getting sold to be given to a cult.
Are you telling people I was in a cult?
I am now, yeah.
Well, this, yeah.
I do. I find it hard because it's embarrassing. The first person I told was my friend James, who at the time I didn't actually know James that well. I was just waiting for a pint with him, and I just sort of came out with it. I said I've been part of this weird thing, and it looks like a cult. So yeah, I do find it quite hard to say, but I do say it.